Welcome to Surviving the Dream with your hosts, Casey Arnold
and David Conley.
We're here to talk to people who seem to have their dream job and find out, what did it take? Is it what they imagined? Is it worth it? How do they do it?
Join us as we uncover the secrets of surviving the dream. Hello, Casey.
Hello, Dave.
Surviving the dream for another week.
We did it.
We did it. Well, we survived. Now, this week, we've got somebody who survives and in an interesting way, I find, in Los Angeles, because he is surviving by selling and buying other people's houses because he works in real estate.
Interesting time to be doing that. That is definitely living a dream.
Let's find out how he's surviving this dream. Graham Larson, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, David. Hello, Casey. Thank you for having me.
So, come on, tell us. You deal with high-end property, don't you? I mean, like superstars of LA, and you're going around and you're basically going, all right, I'll sell your house for you. Is it as fun as it sounds?
It actually is.
Really?
I'll be honest. The first 3 or 4 years when I was learning the business and realized that you did have to put in the 10,000 hours to make a living was probably not as fun. And also, by the way, I was still learning the business. There's a lot to learn. I mean, one of the joys of my job, frankly, is I do still learn something new, at least one new thing every day, whether it's related to real estate or something related to a client's business or their life or what have you. But I think now today I can sit here and say it's fun and I enjoy it. That's not to say that, there aren't the challenges that come with dealing with people that own very expensive homes that believe their X $1 million house is worth a couple million more, and the market is telling us that it's not. Those aren't always easy conversations to have, but David, you and I have talked about this a little bit. I segued from being a producer in TV and film, and I didn't think about the similarities until I was actually in it. But being a producer and a real estate advisor is very, very similar. You are still bringing buyers and sellers together, and there is still a creative process. Although in real estate, I would say probably not as much as when I was a producer, but the relationships that you build and maintain is super important in both businesses. So I'd love to sit here and say, oh yeah, I knew the similarities and that's why I pivoted to real estate. But the honest answer is I pivoted into real estate because I couldn't afford to be a producer anymore.
You couldn't survive that dream, so you said, I'll have another dream instead.
Correct. It's so funny. Some people can't handle the brutal truth about that, but I simply could not afford to be a producer anymore.
Wow.
I think it's brave of you to be able to admit you hit your breaking point, because there's so many ups and downs in this, right? And at a certain point, you're like, I don't like this lifestyle. This is not working for me. So what made you pick switching to real estate specifically?
Well, it was timing, frankly. When I had one foot out the door, the producing career, I took the real estate agent that helped my ex-wife and I buy and sell several homes. I took him out to lunch, mainly just to pick his brain. It wasn't primarily because I was thinking about getting into real estate, but I just wanted to pick his brain because what I did notice when he was working with us and for us, he seemed to be enjoying himself. Like, he would show up at a showing with us and his hair was still wet. And I'd say, oh, he just took a quick shower. He's like, no, I just surfed for an hour in between showings. And I think that was, for me, something clicked where I was like, okay, so this guy can work really hard, make a living, be successful, and then sneak in a surf, mid-morning.
Right. Like quality of life. Hang on. Tell me how you're doing that.
And we've got to say that Graham wasn't any old kind of producer. Produced movies like Last Samurai with a young actor called Thomas Cruise. It was
not slumming it in the first career.
wasn't the kind of producer who's going, hey, yeah, I've got 10 pictures, but none of them have been made, but they're going to be. He actually did make some very significant
All true. I will say this, that my success, once I went out on my own, didn't come as frequently. I learned very quickly that as you both know, it's a tough business slugging alone and being a producer on your own. So when I was working for Edswick and Marshall Herskovitz, of course, had all the wonderful experiences of reading the first rough draft of Traffic. Steve Gagan kindly, and we're now friends, but at the time I did not know him very well, but kindly slipped me the script, and he said, yes, I want to get Ed and Marshall's notes, but I also want you guys, to take a read. Experiences like Last Samurai for sure. But if as soon as I didn't have a producing partner like Sean William Scott when we had our first look deal at Universal, or if I didn't have my partner and boss Ben Silverman, who had created Reveille and had the success with The Office and Ugly Betty and Biggest Loser, I think it's fair to say my head got a little big, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to go on my own and keep doing this. And the truth is, it just became exponentially harder. I enjoyed it as much as I could and had wonderful relationships and got to meet some amazing people. The sort of great full circle about all this is I've now been able to, I can now count some of these folks that I either worked with or tried to work with in the entertainment business as clients now. Very fulfilling in that way.
So you kept those relationships up. Then.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys asked me what's the biggest thing that you miss about producing, I would say is the relationships and the incredibly smart, funny, interesting people that you get to spend time with.
So how much of what you do now is like people versus property? Because I imagine, as someone who's looked for a home before, like everyone has that thing that's really important to them, right? That you might be like, do you really care about like how big the kitchen bar is or what height the stools are? But like to them, they're like, that is how I start my morning every day. And if the house doesn't have that, I don't even want to see it. Like how much psychology of the client is it versus just look how many cool houses there are that we get to see?
It's a great question. And I think over time, I've realized that the most important thing is to be a good listener, because, if someone says, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. And if you're showing them some of those kinds of houses, but then you're pushing a house that's more expensive or a sexier, cooler house that you think is cool, at some point that is one way to lose a client, frankly. These folks, and listen, even the clients of mine that are buying $1 million condos, which I know when I say $1 million condo in Virginia, my friends are like, what? But we all know that you can't probably get a condo on the West Side for less than $1 million. But my point is, even if I'm talking to those clients, they really appreciate someone listening, getting it, and then just finding that property. Now, of course, what I do like to, my disclosure to all my clients on the buy side is we may not get 10 out of 10 on your, must-have list, but we'll shoot for it. And I think that's, and then to get into even a little deeper about, what's important in my relationships is managing expectations. I do see a lot of other agents that, will say, okay, we'll get that for you. Or if you're on the list side, we're going to sell that in 2 weeks. Well, you better, if you're going to be saying that, you better back it up. So to answer your question, I think for me, the biggest thing is listening. And it's funny, I've always been a good listener as a human being, to the point sometimes where people think that I'm much more of an introvert. I think I'm sort of somewhere in the middle. David may have some opinions on that.
I've got notes. Do you prefer selling or buying?
I like. If you said I could only do one, right, I would probably say buying, because I like the hunting aspect. And I really like it when we're in a market and they say, "Oh, it's a seller's market and there's no inventory." That's when I'm like, "Let's go. I'm going to start making phone calls." And I guess there's a part of me that's like, I want to prove everybody wrong when other agents are like, there's no inventory out there. I just, we're going to take a little, my clients and I, my buyers and I, we're going to take a little break. What is that?
What do you think sets you apart to be able to find those things? Or is it just the love of the challenge?
I think it's the love of the challenge. And I do, and by the way, I do love looking at cool houses. And again, it doesn't have to be the $20 million Brentwood estate. I've had the good fortune of buying and selling homes that are architecturally significant. Whether it's a Cliff May or a Neutra's office, which, by the way, David, you and I have talked about this. It's right near where we used to practice soccer. Remember, it was one of his offices. I showed that to a couple of clients. We didn't close the deal, but again, the opportunity to see these incredible structures be 1,500 square feet or 15,000 square feet. I do still get in the car and go to showings, and I get excited. And I think also part of it is the timing was great because as a producer, especially when I was on my own for the last 4 years, the amount of time that I put in and the reward that came back was very minimal. So it wasn't about like just putting in the hours, and there's a lot of luck involved, obviously, in the entertainment business. So now I can literally I know that I could show a property and be writing an offer that afternoon. It's a very, very high chance. And then, as we say in the real estate business, once you write an offer, you're at least in the dance. And there may be 20 other offers, but then for me, that gets even more exciting and more interesting because then I got to get more involved, and that's when the negotiating skills come in.
Do you get a kick out of that, like adrenaline? Is it like a performer?
Yeah.
We're going to put an offer in. Great, yeah.
Yeah, it can be very performative. And back to Casey's question about the psychological sort of thought process, there are times where I have very, very tough conversations with an agent on the other side, and they have emotional reaction, which then sets off their client who has an emotional reaction, and all of a sudden, then I'm in like therapy mode. Or one trick that I learned from, I can't remember where I read this or heard this, but when someone is like going off and like raising their voice and yelling at you and just acting like a child, shut up and let them talk, let them spin. And even when they're done, wait, literally in your head, count 5 Mississippi. And before you hit 5 Mississippi, they'll say, "Are you there? Hello?" And then you say, "I'm here. I'm listening." 9 out of 10 times, these people are like, all of a sudden their heart rate drops. So I guess what I'm saying is the reason this is actually a dream job, it wasn't when I was a kid. I wanted to be a center fielder for the New York Yankees. David knows that. That didn't work out so great.
Hey, you played for our softball team. I think you got close. I would say that I think you touched the dream.
I think so.
We played in the Glendale. I think we were in the F team or something like that.
This is where we're going to lose Casey. She's like,
yeah, I'm gone. I'm changing the subject back.
Yeah,
what I was going to say is, so for my job, like every day could be a different day. Like I could be negotiating. I could be a therapist. I could be a best friend. I could be a student of architecture, a fan of architecture. I could be cold calling, which I like to do, once or twice a week, which typically you get hung up on. But the point is, it's like I'm never doing the same thing over and over. So it's allowing me to exercise all those muscles.
Let's talk about that cold calling. That sounds fun. So,
well, by the way, you and I should do it together. I'll just like patch you in, right?
Yeah.
I'm here with my friend David. He's going to crack some jokes, and then I'm going to help you with real estate.
I've done it. I've done it a few times, and it's just like, and I always think when someone tells you to fuck off, I'm thinking, oh great, we've done that's out of the way early because you get one a day, right? So, so tell me what makes you. So, who are you cold calling? Just anybody who's got a house.
Yeah, no, these are random. It's a list that you get from a title company.
Yeah,
and it's a name and a number and an address. That's it.
Yeah,
Do you
and
have like a hack to getting past the first 3 seconds of like, hi, I'm a realtor looking for, hang on.
By the way, that is definitely not how I open because they will hang up. My script, as they call it, differs probably depending on the mood of the day. But yeah, I'm sure there's some days where my performance is not good, but then there's some days where the performance is good. And I've broken through a couple of walls. I will say that.
And tell us, let's give us a good story. Has it worked? Have you ever got someone going, oh my God, thank God you called today, Graham, because I was thinking I should sell my house.
Not yet.
Not yet. I love it, but you're still doing it.
But by the way, I have colleagues in my office. They do cold calls every day, and that's where they get half their business.
Really? Wow. So it does work. So it definitely works.
Yeah. I'm just fortunate that my as soon as I 3 or 4 years in started to make a living but I think when I helped a friend of a friend who was in the spotlight, a celebrity type, and did a good job, sort of that elevated me in a great way. So I'm grateful for that.
What is your favorite part of the process?
Besides closing?
ABC, always be closing Larson.
I think the negotiating is fun now. 5 years ago, I would not have said that because I was still learning how to, like I said, manage different personalities. But now
I bet producing, I was just going to say, I bet all your producing skills probably come in handy with all of that and give you an advantage over many people.
Yeah, a little bit, but I'll be honest, I didn't get to do a lot of the negotiating. You know, when you're making a movie, there's business affairs at the studio and talent has their agents. So, and that it's funny that you should ask that because it kind of raises a point that's probably some of the kind of work that I missed as a producer, and I'm now being able to do that now.
And what's this situation? I was reading the New Yorker. I just want our listeners to know that I read the New Yorker. That's the end. That's the end of that.
It's not all sports all the time.
You did the audio thing.
I read it. I definitely read it, and it was about real estate, and it was talking about LA. And there's some. It's the high end real estate where there's a certain threshold that if you go beyond it. There's massive tax.
Oh yeah, it's called the ULA tax.
Yeah,
and so properties between 5 million and 10 million, there's an additional 4% tax, and then properties over 10 million, there's an additional 5.5% tax.
And so what people were doing were basically saying, look, we'll give you rather than paying the actual price, how about we throw in a Ferrari? And then you turn up for a showing and there'd be like a jazz band and there'd be like these high things. And they're going, we're going to give you a Ferrari and a holiday to Australia.
It's funny you should mention this, David, because I just had this conversation yesterday with another agent. They have a property. It's like over $20 million. It's got 5 different APNs. So like 5 different, it was 5 congruous lots put together over a period of time. So now it's one address. It's 5 different APNs. Wow. They're talking right now to title and the lawyers because one way they're gonna help the seller get around the tax is one buyer, but do 4 or 5 different sales.
Oh. Yeah, I'm just writing.
There's always a workaround.
Yeah. I'll just write that down for when I sell my property.
So when I don't want to say I'll never, but I doubt I'll ever be at the point where I'm shopping for one of those crazy wealthy houses. But I was just reading something the other day about Billy Joel selling his like 49 point whatever $1 million house. Like if you're going to sell something like that, is your approach different than if someone's like, hey, I'm selling my cute $2 million house, which is still a lot of money to a lot of people, but not when you're in that market? Is it the approach different?
For me, emotionally, no, because to me, a sale is a sale, and it's like I was saying earlier. The reason I've gotten to a place in real estate is because I took my first set of clients just as seriously as I take my celebrity clients or successful clients or whatever. I think there would be more things that you can do, more money that Sotheby's and I could spend on a marketing program on a Billy Joel estate versus a cute $2 million house. But it's funny. We still,
I love that we're getting a little $2 million house. Only $2 million. I mean, those people in Virginia are going to go, what are these guys talking about?
I live in West Hollywood, and there's a bunch of those cute $2 million houses around me that my East Coast family is always like, why are you still in your condo? Why don't you buy one of those cute little houses? And I'm like,
yeah. And you're like, do you know how much that cute house is?
Exactly.
Mom?
I'm like, you want to loan me $2 million? My condo costs what your house costs where you live. You're like 5-bedroom, 4-car, location makes a difference.
Yeah. It's, I do have to sort of check myself when I say that, but I because it's 3 of us live in Los Angeles and we know what the prices are. It's pretty obscene.
Right. So those of you living elsewhere who have giant houses for like $800,000, please enjoy it. A little extra for those of us who might not get there.
That's what I say to my friends on the East Coast. I'm like, after I scream some expletives, I say, yeah, enjoy it. Yeah. And then they also tell me what their mortgage is.
Oh yeah, and the property taxes.
The mortgage is less than our friends that rent, janky places on the East Side.
That's
it's crazy.
So do you ever...
an insider. That's what you're saying. You're saying my East Side. Thanks, guys. Look, I just let everyone know we've got 2 West Siders here talking to an East Sider. So I'm with the Virginians on this.
Well, here's the good news. Nobody really knows what's the West Side and what's the East Side. So we don't know what that comment really meant.
Yeah, good.
There you go.
Right,
Wait, do you ever see, because you get to see so many places around the city, do you ever walk in somewhere that you're like shocked that gem that you've driven past a million times looks like that? And do you ever go in somewhere to show something to a client and you're like, I want this one for myself?
Oh yeah. Yes and yes. And back to your question about what's the greatest thing about my job? Another one is discovering new enclaves in Los Angeles. I helped a client's daughter buy a house 2 years ago in Highland Park. The only time I've been to Highland Park was to go bowling.
Oh, I love Highland Park. That's a cool East Side area, listeners.
It is.
Very cool. Cooler than the West Side and cheaper. Yeah.
But to my client's daughter's credit, she was kind of like her profile would be she's not afraid of a little of how do I say this? A street that's not manicured and she's not scared of a couple of Rottweilers and what have you. She's been there for 2 years now and she couldn't be happier. This house, if I sent you the photos right now, you would understand how amazing this house is. But that just, to me, is awesome because it confirms the fact that places like Highland Park, they're slowly, getting to enjoy architectural homes. It's not just Silver Lake or all those other places that already are known for that.
And it changed because when I moved here, I lived in Silver Lake for many years, and I saw how Silver Lake suddenly didn't change that much, other than the feeling and the vibe of the place was going, oh, this is now becoming a very middle-class place. I remember when I first lived there and people were going, it's big gangland out there, Dave. Are you all right? I'm fine. I loved it. And then it was actually when I left, I was going, yeah, kind of got ruined a little bit because everybody moved in.
When Whole Foods comes in, you leave?
Yeah, basically. Whole Foods came in, I'm out of here, I'm going further east, I kind of like that thing. So it's a difficult thing, isn't it? Do you feel that in real estate that it's interesting, areas change, like Highland Park is now like super cool, right? That would be, I presume the property prices must have gone up significantly. I don't know. But I presume.
I know they have. And then also I just helped a client buy a house, Elysian Heights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right near Dodger Stadium. Didn't know about that little area. It's adorable. And you can walk down. I forget what that main strip is. And they've got like these little shops and a coffee place in the corner. It's its own little spot. And that's the thing about LA, people complain about how big it is and the traffic, but I like to flip it and say, well, we get to enjoy in one city 5 or 6 different cities.
Yeah, I love LA for that.
For
I
sure.
think it's incredible. I think you can choose the kind of city you live in LA. You've got downtown, which is like, all right, downtown is like, that is like a Chicago or a New York in just for a few blocks.
100%.
And then you've got Beverly Hills, and then you've got Compton. You've got it's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, in fact, we'll go downtown when Ray and I are missing New York City. We'll go for lunch or brunch downtown because we want to walk on a sidewalk and look up and see some skyscrapers, and then pop in and go see an exhibit or something.
Yeah, great galleries down there, great restaurants. Apparently, the New York Times says that 3 of the best 10 restaurants are in downtown Los Angeles.
In the Arts District or just downtown?
Wow. Somewhere downtown. They're all around. I mean, downtown is amazing.
I'm gonna give David some props because I like to. He likes getting props. You know that.
Thanks. I'm good with props. I've got that on my resume. This actor is good with props.
Yes. Let's pat the actor on the back.
Well done. David and Hannah, as long as I've known them, are always up for meeting you wherever. And I think that as an Angelino, that's super important because we all start digging our heels and we're like, I'm not driving more than 30 minutes or I'm not driving across the 405 or all that stuff. And the thing is, it's like with podcasts, you get in your car and you listen to a podcast and then you're there. But I've always admired that. And it's actually affected me in my sort of, even after like a crazy busy day, if someone says, hey, you want to go meet me in Silver Lake, I'm in Cheviot Hills, or if I'm in my office in the Palisades, I just say yes. Just do it.
You're both an inspiration because I am a bit of a hood rat. And I am one of those a-holes who's like, oh, God, it's so far. So many freeways. Oh.
Yeah. But I think that's what makes it exciting. I think you put on a podcast and you're there and you go, this isn't the same city. You can be, I love the fact, and I tell people is that you can, and not that I do it, but you can surf and ski on the same day. That's incredible.
I know, and he's actually a realtor. He was a former actor and he's now, I would actually say he's the top realtor in Southern California. He does that. And when I just started real estate and he was actually kind of a pseudo mentor, he would text me at like 8 at night and say, let's do Baldy, at 7 in the morning, we'll go in and work and then we'll hit Malibu in the afternoon. And I think he does that, during the ski season, he does that like once a week. It's incredible. Yeah.
To your point, stop in downtown on the way.
How does I'm gonna get in my car and do some more stuff. You guys are setting a good example. Thank you.
We'll send you a car, Kate.
Honestly, part of it is I don't super love driving. I feel a little trapped, but I'm not near a freeway, so it's a lot of like the getting to a freeway. Anyway, that's just like whiny LA bullshit.
We'll work on that.
I need to figure that out. But so if you started the transition, right, like after talking to the realtor friend who was going out and doing all that stuff, like I'm imagining that your expectation was that your life was going to involve more of that. So is your reality living up to what your expectation was?
Yeah, because now I'm in a place where I get to manage my schedule. And I learned early on, that you do have to set boundaries. I think for all of us, especially if you're running your own business, if you don't set certain boundaries with people you work with and also clients, you will be sleeping with your phone and it will be going off and you will not be effective the next day. I learned that. I mean, the first 3 or 4 years I was doing that because, I was so hell bent on making this career work. And I sent you guys my bio. I mean, if you look at the bio, I did a bunch of stuff before, like all of us, with the intention of being successful. I think one thing that I could, if I, they say, what's the one thing you could share with your younger self? I think one of the things I would say is, hey, don't stress too much about what your journey is. Like, just work hard, you know, work hard enough that people respect you, and take care of yourself more, and you'll figure it out. But I think in I don't want to just say in America, because I think it's in other places, but I do find that the helicopter parenting, or my favorite is snowplow parent, which is really, really nails it. It does. We are, stressing our kids out into thinking that you graduate from college and you find a job, and then you stick with it, and you by gosh, you make it work, and you make it work, and you make sure that you're happy. Well, that's not I don't, the world is a little different now.
I want to talk about those 3 or 4 years, which you mentioned a couple of times now, where you said that's when you had to make a living, and you were struggling to make a living. How do you survive that? How do you now? This is almost pre-dream time. How do you get through that?
Live a very frugal life. I will say I was afforded the opportunity to focus on being as good a father as I could be. My kids were, let's see, I got into real estate 14 years ago. So my boys were 3 and 4.5. So I put more time into that. And then also, I just, one of the things I really did too was I leaned on several other agents that were in our office that were clearly successful, and just kind of, busted the door down to the point where I could help them with open houses, and pick their brain. Because, at first I'm sure I acted like I knew everything. Real estate, what's there to know? You list a house and sell it, or you look, you go show a buyer a house and you make an offer. But I remember things like going with one of my mentors during inspections, a full day in Malibu for 10 different inspections. And by the way, inspections in Malibu, that will quickly help you realize if you want to stay in the business or not, because these inspectors are literally detailing every crack and crevice and mark. And a lot of buyers still to this day, even if they've bought or sold a lot of homes, they still get freaked out, and understandably.
Interesting. Was there a breakthrough moment where you went, it's different when you're looking back, but do you look back and go, you're saying 3 or 4 years. Was there a moment when you're going, this is it? I think I've cracked it. Or is that something that you realized later on?
It's when I got my own listing for myself, house in Sherman Oaks, a producer who I tried to make a couple movies with and it never worked out, but I stayed in touch with him and took him out to lunch after I'd been doing it for a couple of years, and told him that, at some point I was going to, have an office or have a desk, because having a desk in a real estate office is actually a big deal now, because they don't have, just a lot of these. There are a lot of satellite offices now, and people working from home thanks to the pandemic and all that. But I kind of said to him, I'm going to be this guy soon, and if and when you want to sell your house or move, I want to be your guy. And the thing is, I had a little insider information because a mutual friend of ours had said that they were going to start looking, because they had it's a cute, I keep saying cute, a really awesome single story California ranch, which, by the way, I'm living in one myself, so I love them. But they said they need some more
cute
space.
Yeah,
right?
It's very cute, your little ranch house.
Super cute. So they had this insider information. Obviously, I didn't reveal that. So the timing of my lunch was great because literally a week later, he called me and said, "Will you come and look at our house? We want to buy a bigger house." And I also knew that he had just like produced a couple movies that had done well. So we're just kind of getting ahead of that. But that was, to answer your question, Dave, that was as soon as I got that listing. Now, by the way, we didn't sell it right away. It took a moment. It took like 35, 40 days. And he's a tough guy. There's a reason why he's a successful producer. He'd call me every other day and be like, what the hell? Like, why isn't this selling? And I'd say, well, we probably have to reduce. We're not reducing. This is, the type of client I was telling you guys about. I was like, we're not reducing. In fact, I think we should raise the price. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like, we can't sell this house. We're not raising the price. Obviously, I didn't say that, but eventually sold it and then helped them buy their bigger house. And so that was when I was like, okay, I think I can make a living doing this.
Right.
And was it the actually earning the money from it that let you know, or just like going through the process and making it happen on your own that you were like, yes, I get it. I got this.
A little of both.
Yeah.
And by the way, it wasn't, to be clear, it was not a huge commission, but, I think to back to your question, I think it calmed me in a way so that I could be, again, more effective moving forward, and also helping my confidence so that when I was meeting with prospective clients, I wasn't just saying, yeah, I'm working with so-and-so, but at some point I'll be a good realtor for you. I could actually point to that listing. And also, by the way, with a lot of the prospective clients or future clients, I could mention his name because they all kind of knew each other because he was a producer. And everybody knew that he was a tough guy. So I knew in my head, okay, I probably, for my first listing, that was probably one of the hardest people to work with. But I think that was a blessing in some way.
Yeah. That's good. That's similar to what we do too, Dave, right? It's like you can be the person that talks about like, I'm a writer, I'm going to be a writer, but like you've never sold anything or you haven't had to negotiate a difficult personality or whatever. And like you said, the 10,000 hours, the more you do each of those things, the easier they all become the next time.
Yeah, I think the confidence is just a huge thing in any walk of life. That is that
Absolutely.
actually, because there must be bravado. You have to have bravado to start off with, and which can turn into confidence when you've actually done something. Which brings me to another question, which was, dare I say it, some real estate have got a bit of a reputation for being a little bit shady. There's a guy in politics right now. He's running for some position.
Let's not compare Graham to him. I mean, I don't know Graham that well, but you seem like a very decent human being.
I haven't finished my question. I'm just asking.
All right. I'm just feeling defensive.
I mean, have you come? You must have come across people like that, and you must be dealing with people like that, and there must be a trust issue, right?
I had a listing last year, West Hollywood, just north of Melrose, so cool little pocket there.
It's all right. It's not brilliant around there.
Hey, it's my pocket. Don't diss my pocket.
Is that your pocket?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I mean, it's a bit overrated, don't you find, Graham? That area, little bit.
Really great place, but this is we got an offer from this. Oh, an air thing just came up. Is that bad?
Yeah, it's because you mentioned that place in West Hollywood.
It's because you mentioned a certain someone, Dave.
Yeah.
You're okay on our end.
I got a phone call from a woman in San Francisco. She wanted me to give her a tour via FaceTime, which I've done before. She loved it. She said, okay, write an offer. I want you to represent me. It's the old, if something seems too good to be true, it's usually too good to be true. But nonetheless, I spoke with the clients and said, hey, we weren't getting offers again. It was sitting for a while. They didn't want to reduce the price. And I said, what do you guys want to do? And they said, sure, let's just, let's see what happens. Well, she turned out to be fraudulent, did not have the funds. She sent proof of funds from Wells Fargo to the tune of $17 million. So she clearly just doctored some documents, which is not hard to do. But it was a 4.5 week odyssey that, just was just a reminder that, we do the due diligence on our side for a reason. And it's funny, some buyers get insulted. Why do I have to show proof of funds before I go look at a $20 million estate? Well, we want to make sure that you're actually a buyer and not somebody that's just curious about how many bathrooms this house has,
Oh, so I can't just go round and do that?
Oh. No.
Well, what is the end game of somebody lying about their funds like that? Because obviously at a certain point, you got to cut a check if you get it, right? And then the jig is up.
I think this was last year, and it's gotten even more surgical and clever. But the end game for this person, I think, was to get on title of the house. And that,
even if they don't have the money, because then you have like a squatter's rights kind of thing that they can't get you out.
Correct. And that's
oh my God, people are so shady.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but that's a top tip, isn't it? If you don't have the money, thanks, Gwen.
That's your takeaway.
So it's really. So
if you want one of those houses, we all said we can't afford. There's the way to do it.
Yeah, and you said it's pretty easy to do the paperwork. Wow. Well, this has been an amazing. I've learned so much. Let's get to the regular questions then, Graham, because I've got to go down the bank after this. So we have regular questions that we ask everybody. First of all, Wells Fargo is the right bank to go. My question to you is, if you won the lottery, the big one, what would you do?
I think I would. I think I'd carve out some time so I could read more. I'd give a bunch away. I mean, I'm really, I give to a lot of different causes, not a lot of money, but a friend of mine once said, if you just give whatever you give on a regular basis is really helpful. So I'd probably do that. And then maybe maybe get in the flipping business a little bit.
Maybe that's what's next for you.
Yeah, because the flipping business is not, the return on investment is pretty narrow. But if I won the lottery, it'd have a little, a cushion there that if some houses you flip, you only make $50,000, $100,000, no big deal. But I do like, we didn't even get into this, but another aspect of my job is I love getting into the contracting, remodeling, renovating part of the business. I've helped a client buy a property a year ago, and he's opening up. It's basically down to framing. He's not taking anything down, but he's opening the first floor and the second floor and reimagining the footprint of the house. And I just went by there the other day, and you just walk through and you go, holy smokes. Like, it's literally now a blank slate, and he can now make it. He's keeping the integrity of the house because, again, it's like I would call it like a California ranch craftsman, but he's going to make it, he's going to give a more modern touch to it.
Cool.
But when I walk through there, I go, oh, that'd be fun to be part of that. As long as it didn't lose money doing it. So
yeah,
cool.
It does happen. Cool. I mean, a lot of people that flip houses do a couple of them and they realize that they actually lost some money and then they're out of the game. So,
so let's hope Graham wins a lottery so he can flip some houses. There we go. It's amazing. There's a theme here that everyone seems to want to do. You are obviously doing what you want to do. It's amazing.
I would just have to find a good realtor to list.
We'll find you one. Yeah.
Okay. So my question, what is your go-to snack for you? And do you have one that you have at showings? Like, I know they say like, oh, if you bake cookies, the smell of cookies makes people want to buy it. Do you have a thing like that you do?
Can I just do a quick aside? I'm laughing because there was a client a couple of years ago on a very high-end property, and we couldn't sell the house. And I mentioned that we were going to do a couple of things, including, a friend of mine was going to bake some cookies, and he said, "We're not fucking baking cookies." he was so annoyed. He's like, "We're not baking." He was actually, I think the actual quote was, we're not giving away free cookies. I was like, good God, dude.
It wasn't even the offense of manipulating people via smell. It was the free cookies.
Yeah. So, answer your question. Trail mix is my go-to snack. I always have at least one bag in the car because, could get, if all of a sudden, that's the thing. Like, there's also the, all of a sudden I get a couple calls and I'm doing 3 showings back to back to back in the afternoon. So it's good to have that. I would say the trail mix or dried mangoes.
Oh, Dave's favorite.
That's my favorite. Oh yeah, love that.
But like the low sugar, like just like
nothing on it, no sugar, no, just mango, just mango.
A little something to keep you from getting hangry.
Trader Joe's bit of sweetness. Yeah. Love that.
The second part of that question is, unless we're doing an actual event, where I'll do like a twilight invite only brokers open where we'll have it not catered, but there'll be some food and maybe a bartender. I typically don't like to put food out because people just tend to linger. This may be bad to say, but most of the people that come in and like eat the food are just the looky-loos. Mm-hmm. They're not really interested in buying a hat. Like you'll ask and be like, "Oh, you just start your process? You've been looking for a while," and they're like, "We're not really looking." Meanwhile, they're on their 5th brownie.
Yeah. And you're like,
You
got leave those.
We're saving up to buy our house by eating all of the free food at all the showings.
So I hope you say, leave those mangoes alone. Those are mine.
And those people tend to be messy, and you like take the brownie, walk around, and drop crumbs everywhere. So I personally, unless again like it's a specific event, I'll just have waters.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I like it. All right.
Is it annoying when people just come to look? Or like if they're honest about like I in my neighborhood, because they do have a lot of open houses, I will sometimes walk in and when the realtor's like, "Hi," I'm like, "Hey, just so you know, I live in the neighborhood. I'm just curious to see what else is around."
I think that's awesome because here's the thing. You could then have dinner that night with a friend who says, "I'm looking and I love your neighborhood." So right. I encourage that. And I also find, especially if it's someone from the neighborhood, I'll pick their brain and say, what do you think about the price, that we're listed at? And, how long have you lived here? How's the, are you ever, do you feel safe here? Like that's information that you're not going to get when you Google, how safe is such and such street. It's like talking to the neighbors. So I actually love that.
Yeah. Okay, good, because I love to look. So anyway, next time you're north of Melrose in my pocket, feel free to pick my brain.
Okay, because you won't leave it, obviously. You won't go anywhere. That's the only opportunity you get to see Casey
after
in
this
person.
Podcast.
Unless we're doing an open house at your house, how will I ever see
impossible. Yeah, maybe a neighbor's. Yeah.
I'm not opposed to walking far.
Okay. Yeah. Graham, so I need to know, what is your favorite animal and why?
Well, you know the answer to that, David.
Come on.
I don't know.
Bring it.
Oh, you're one of us, Graham. I love it.
There you go.
David knows the story that my amazing partner is a cat lover. In fact, do we have time? Are we going to go late if I tell a quick 30-second story?
Always have time for a cat story.
We've always got time for this.
Okay. I don't even know if David knows the story. First date with Ray. We meet for coffee. 3 hours. By the way, I don't drink that much coffee, but I was so nervous. I drank like 3 big bowls of something.
That'll help even you out.
I was like speedy and very tall. Like this was the extrovert me.
Yeah. I just got to go to the restroom a lot.
Yeah. By the way, went to the restroom 10 times. But I'm walking her back to her car, and I don't know how the subject came up. We were talking about like pets or something like that, and maybe she had asked me if I had pets, and I talked about our that was a dog family. But anyways, right before we get to her car, I say, "You're not a cat person, are you? Because like cats are cats are kind of annoying. And the thing is, I had an opinion about it because my sisters growing up had cats and they were the worst. They would hiss and they would scratch you and they were not friendly. But right before we get to the car, I said, you don't like cats, do you? And she goes, I just put my cat down. And as we get to the car, like if you're shooting the scene, it's like a dolly, and right the back of the car is all her cat stuff that she says to me that she's going to now give away and donate. So I'm like, okay, it was great to meet you.
Oh, wow. So talk about putting your foot in your mouth.
That day forward, when I fell for Ray, I became a cat lover.
How did you rebound from that? Were you like, when I said that,
Yeah, cats. Yeah.
It's a lot about Ray.
So every anniversary, you buy her a new cat and a cat thing to try and make good on it.
So we got the first cat together, and then the second cat I went and got on my own while she was shooting down in San Diego. My parents literally thought I lost my mind. And David's met both Milo and Augie, and they're awesome. They're almost as awesome as David's cats. But yeah, so to answer your question, I'm a cat guy.
He nearly had to have another one the other week. He was very,
I was going to say, you didn't
close.
adopt one of the kittens David had at the house?
He sent the photos, and I was like, I can't look.
Yeah. Just
they're a gateway. They're a gateway drug.
Yep. Wafer thin kitten. Yeah. I got Hannah's away at the moment, so I had 5 cats in bed with me last night. I woke up and I got scratches everywhere. I don't know what happened. They all still had a great night. They were and also on the hour, one of them was tapping me, going, one of the kittens. I went, all right, little purrer. All right, Casey, you get
got a full house.
Question. Yeah,
okay.
Full house.
Final question, Graham. If we really knew you, what would we know about you?
Ooh, I am pretty much an open book, but one thing that most people know about is that I'm occasionally claustrophobic.
Oh.
My dad was painfully claustrophobic. And which is so ironic because he lived in New York City most of his life, and in New York City you have to squeeze in elevators.
Yeah.
So
and subway cars and lots of places.
Yeah. So he did it, but I didn't know until I was older. He said like he basically like had to hold his breath. It doesn't get that bad for me, except I was with the boys like 6 years ago at a water park, and they wanted to do the you go in the water tube. So you step in individually, and the plastic comes down, and you slide down this water thing feet first. Ooh. But you're like this.
Like a water luge.
Yeah, exactly. Water luge, but you're not in actually
Yeah.
And so I said, great, sure, I'll do it. And one of my sons went, then I was next, and I got in, and 5 seconds while I was in there, and I, sort of looked around and noticed that I was really tight and I wasn't digging it. I motioned to the guy and said, I can't do it.
Wow.
So
yeah.
That does happen.
I don't love tight spaces. I'm with you. I guess it's good that you show big, wide open houses so you don't have to have that happen in front of your clients.
Well done. Yes.
Wow. Well, Graham, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Yeah, I love the top tip that I'm just going to get some paperwork, which is apparently very easy to do. And then
David, just add some zeros.
Yeah, I think that's it. Squatters' right. I'm going to basically, sorry, Casey, but I'm going to say, look, I earn a fortune from this podcast. So
is that where all my money's going? You're stealing it all?
Yeah. So I quite like a big mansion in Malibu next to the Edge. I know the Edge has got something out there, so maybe next to him. But Graham, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. This has really been a delight, and I'm glad that your second dream worked out, and I'm excited to see what happens when you start flipping houses too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you both. It was a pleasure spending some time with you.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for listening. Talk to you soon.
Keep dreaming. Bye.
Quick shout out to Mike Nicholas for being our tech savior, and Carmen Sclafani, also known as Wiser Time. Thanks for our music, and thank you all for listening.